Hey, good morning,
Do
good
that, please.
afternoon, good evening. It's Open World Chat again. We're back. I'm here. I'm John Odom. I'm here with Mark Card, and we're here to have another great conversation. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing pretty good. I hope it goes okay today. I would like to do that.
Yeah, we've been having some technical problems, and on top of that, I've got this raspy voice thing going on. I don't know why. So
You just got your Kathleen Turner on.
something like that. Well, I've just had myself locked away practicing bass for the band I'm in, and I haven't spoken to anyone, and my throat is dried up. So that's all it is.
I didn't know
It,
you were a bass player. I played in a band in college,
oh, yeah? What'd you play?
bass.
Oh, well, there you go.
I don't, I'm not a real musician. I just played by ear, but it was fun.
Yeah, the worst guitarist is always the one that gets stuck playing bass. That's what happened to me. Well, anyway, we got a sort of a two-part episode this time around because we're going to be talking about directors in both cases. But in this case, we are going to look at directors who are primarily known or have what's considered a masterpiece of their work, what everybody thinks of when they think of the name of the director. And we're going to identify directors that have a masterpiece that may not be their best movie after all. This is sort of alternate masterpieces that we're going to throw out there at you.
Yeah,
Um,
what I called sneaky masterpieces.
Sneaky masterpieces. There you go. And some of them it's close. I've got some folks on my list where it's like, well, maybe the masterpiece is the masterpiece, but there's another one that's just as good, if not better. So I got a few of those on my list.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
but Mark, why don't you get us going? Because you're the one who had the inspiration for this. So I assume there was something particular in mind that
Well,
was.
we I watch a lot of stuff on movies on YouTube, and there's one particular channel I want to give a shout out to. I have not consulted with them. This is just one of my favorite ones. I'm not getting any kind of compensation from them, but Cinefix is great. If you're into movies, Cinefix is one of the best channels out there on YouTube, as far as what I've seen. And they were having a discussion. They're doing a top 100 list of all time. And the movie they were talking about is Zodiac.
Hmm.
And they said, a lot of people consider Seven David Fincher's masterpiece,
Mhm.
but they kind of all agreed, the panel that was on that particular day agreed that the real masterpiece is that David Fincher has done is Zodiac. And so this got me started on this topic, and I kind of wanted to think about these. And we're going to start off fast and controversial. I think most people would say that if you look at Stanley Kubrick's work, they're going to say 2001 is his masterpiece. And yeah, that's really hard to argue with, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm kind of Don Quixote anyway. I think it's the movie, the period piece, Barry Lyndon.
Well, Barry Lyndon's a little forgotten, and I have to admit I haven't seen it, which is a terrible thing. But it was quite, and it was very much a darling when it came out, I
Yeah, it
believe.
was. I mean, it was on the. I remember this. It was on the front cover of both Time and Newsweek when it came out, and that was usually a big deal back in the 70s.
Sure, sure.
And the other one I remember in right around that time was Bruce Springsteen was on the cover of Time and Newsweek at the same time as well. Um, so it is a based on an 18th century novel, similar to Tom Jones or Tristan Shandy. Uh, and, it's this rakish hero that starts from humble beginnings and somehow ends up, uh, he keeps failing upwards in his social station in 18th century Britain. It's a tale of an Irish farm boy, essentially somebody who's very poor, ending up in the English aristocracy. And he does it through wits and guile and luck, and with the help a lot of beautiful women along the way. But the biggest reason why I think this is his best movie is it has all the hallmarks of your typical Stanley Kubrick movie. That really distinctive lighting, interesting characters that go through very identifiable arcs. But if you look at this movie and you watch it carefully, every scene looks like an 18th century British master or Dutch master's painting.
It's cool.
I mean, he really has stylized every shot in the movie to look like this period of art. And he completely succeeds. And this is going to be a funny, controversial thing. I think he succeeds as well as the movie Sin City succeeded in trying to show the comic book aesthetic
Mm-hmm.
on screen.
A particular comic book aesthetic. Yeah, they did a great job with that. Um,
But I think he really does this in almost every shot. And the other reason why I like it is because Stanley Kubrick takes unusual actors and puts them in interesting roles. Though the male lead is Ryan O'Neal, a guy you would much more, think of in a screwball comedy or a drama like Love Story. But nope, he's the rakish hero in this movie, and it's just, I think, an archetypical Stanley Kubrick movie. And yes, 2001 was ahead of its time, and it's a very interesting, very specific kind of hail. But I just think when you think Stanley Kubrick and you've seen all of his work, I think this one is kind of the zenith of his whole vibe.
well, I'll have to take a look at it, although I'm going to be a hard sell because 2001 is competes for my favorite movie of all time. But
It
let
is
me
a
ask
great
you,
movie.
well, let me ask you, does it have any of the sort of Kubrick experimentality, if that's even a word? And is experimentality a word?
It does have that, especially when you look at the lighting. This is what's so amazing about this movie. He recreates on film the same play of light you see in many of the Dutch and English masters from the 18th century. I mean, this film, this modern medium looks like paintings.
Well, that's really cool.
So I think there's a lot of experimentality going on there. Um, just in terms of the aesthetic of the film, the visual kind of structure of that film, it's pretty hard to take something like uh, a medium like film with its resolution and turn it into, this kind of painting.
Mhm.
It's just something that you have to see to really understand. And unfortunately, I don't think you're going to have much chance to do this, but you really need to see this movie on the big screen.
Oh, yeah. That's probably not too
This
likely,
is
although
a
you never
big
know.
this is a big screen kind of movie.
This stuff
If you are
usually
going to
is.
see it, I would see it in letterbox, not in, adapted for video 4:3.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a big believer. So you don't have to pitch me on that one. I'm right there with you.
I just mean for the audience at home.
Yeah. No, for sure. I'm right
So
there
that
with
that's
you.
my kind
Letterbox.
of
Pro
introduction to this.
letterbox.
That's my kind of introduction to this topic. And
Hmm.
everybody says it's 2001. And, it's important to understand here, I'm not just talking about masterpiece in a general sense. What I mean is masterpiece for that specific director's style.
Hmm.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, you got a director like Kubrick. I think a masterpiece by his particular style is going to be a masterpiece by any other name, because
Oh, I think so too. I
holy
think,
crap.
he's this guy that he does nothing poorly.
Hmm. Well, I'll throw a little one out at you first, because
Okay.
I was also looking at either generally, not always, but either at sort of sci-fi fantasy genre movies or genre directors, and so just for fun, I went way back in time to a classic sci-fi director, '50s, '60s. George Pal, you know him, you love him. He directed everything back then, and his masterpiece is considered War of the Worlds.
Oh yeah.
I think if you asked any, old school sci-fi nerd like me, George Pal movie, they'd say War of the Worlds. Well, he's got another big movie that I think is far superior and gets not nearly enough love as it should, and that's the Time Machine movie, which was an amazing movie made on
Oh
a tight
man.
budget. It had a filming schedule of not even a month. It was just thrown together. Had and the look of it, the artistic vision of it is just terrific. Everything about it is terrific, and it does great justice to the book. And if you look there, you can see some of the commentary in the book. Great movie, one of my favorite old sci-fi movies, and this is more than anything just an excuse to make a pitch for it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Um, and he has a very distinctive style. Like Kubrick, if you see a movie by George Pal, you know it's a George Pal movie. You don't have to have any dialogue, just the visual vocabulary of his films is pretty apparent.
Yeah, yeah, right on. I agree. Awesome.
I'm going to get a little nerdier with my next one.
Nerdier than that. Oh my
Yes.
God.
Well, more modern nerdy.
Uh-huh.
And this one's for me is pretty easy. It's the Russo brothers.
Uh-huh.
And what do you think everybody's going to say their masterpiece is?
Their masterpiece, I would probably, if you're asking me,
No,
or
just in
you,
general, not you specifically.
well, of course, the great horde would, of course, say Avengers Endgame.
That's what everybody's going to say, but
Hmm.
it's not. It's Winter Soldier.
Absolutely.
That
Uh,
that is by far their best movie. I doubt they'll make anything better than that.
oh, that's
Um,
hands down the best MCU movie. I mean, I don't
oh
think it's
yeah, there's no
close.
doubt.
Mhm.
It's we've talked about this. My idea of a perfect movie is if you take out one scene, you've changed the movie entirely. And from the the I love this scene where Fury is trying to get away. That whole scene with his car, that is so electric. And it's right in the middle of the movie where you have no idea a big set piece action sequence is coming. Every action sequence in that movie is go, 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 go. You barely have any time to breathe. And when you do breathe, he moves the plot along
Mhm.
they move the plot along in a big way. You know, I like the first Captain America movie, but when I started reading about this one coming up and I started reading about the genesis of this movie, they are big fans of my favorite period of science fiction in America, which is the paranoid 70s.
Mhm.
And there's a spy movie out there with Robert Redford in it, which of course is the reason why Robert Redford is in Winter Soldier. Uh, it called 3 Days of the Condor.
Yep. Which I
And
only
this movie,
finally saw recently. I was late to the game on that one.
oh boy, that is such a good movie.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's nobody else that could play the role, the key role in that movie than Robert Redford.
Mhm.
For those of you who haven't seen it, we're not going to spoil it, but it's essentially a movie about a guy who works in a New York office for the Central Intelligence Agency, and all he does is write books. And one day he comes into the office, or comes back after lunch, and everyone in the office has been murdered. And so he has this mystery to unravel about what happened. And of course, there's a giant revelation in the middle of that movie, which explains why everything happened at the beginning. This movie is tight. It has a distinct style, which you see primarily in the action sequences. Um, it throws back to other movies. That whole scene on the road, what movie does that remind you of? When they're trying to get away and the Winter Soldier attacks them on the highway.
God, it reminded me of something. It's funny that you say that because I remember thinking at the time when I saw it, it was very
It's
reminiscent
another
of
movie
something.
directed by brothers.
You got to tell me. I give up.
It's one of the Matrix movies.
Oh.
You know the
Suspicious now.
scene where they're on the highway? I think it's the
Hmm.
second Matrix, where they're on the highway and they're being chased by the Smiths. It's that electric. It's that spellbinding. It's
Hmm.
that edge of your seat. So these guys, everybody loves Endgame because of the fan service and because of Cap throwing Mjolnir and because of On Your Left and I Love You 3000. And it's a great movie, but it's not Winter Soldier. It's just not. That movie is head and shoulders the best movie. I think it's going to be the best movie the Russo brothers ever make. I think it's going to be better than Doomsday. I think it's going to be, I just think they're not going to do any better than that movie. That's a perfect movie. You can't cut out a sequence and have it be the same movie.
Hmm. Well, and they're not going to do as well, either of those movies with Doomsday. I don't think they can. I think the MCU was set up so well and timed so well, and lightning really struck right when in uh, geez, now I'm saying the wrong movies here. Anyways, the two Avengers movies, when they were made, was the timing was unbelievable, and they're not going to hit a home run like that again. And in terms of quality, I don't know that they have another one as good as Winter Soldier in them, honestly, with all due respect.
And the thing is, nobody expected that movie to be so amazing.
Yeah.
It was just another Cap movie. I really went into it not expecting anything more than one of the Thor movies.
Well,
So, I mean, it just blew me away how good it was.
well, I'm going to throw
So,
one out there, and this is, I think, one of the best directors there is working today. Um, has done so much stuff, different stuff, has such a distinctive visual eye. And I bet you and anyone listening is going to know where I'm going with that. And that's Guillermo del Toro. His
yeah,
big movie, right? He won the Oscar. He won the Oscar for Best Director. He won Best Picture for The Shape of Water.
yep.
But it was a fine movie, although I thought it was a little overrated. But I enjoyed myself. But he's got a movie out there which is just like no other, and that's Pan's Labyrinth. Which I don't know. Have you seen
Yeah,
Pan's
absolutely.
Labyrinth?
That is by far his best movie, but everybody's going to say it's The Shape of Water.
I
Wow,
I
Pan's
I
Labyrinth is so good.
I think the geeky crowd
It's
is going to
such
agree
an
with us.
allegory. I'm sorry.
Oh, I just say I think the geeky crowd is going to agree with us on this. I don't think we'll be unique, but in terms of the great unwashed out there,
Yeah, it's a distinct visual style. It's both an allegory and a commentary on modern society. It takes those two different worlds, the fantasy world and then the main character's reality, and just sets them on the same par. It's so good. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it represents his visual style. It tells the story in a compelling way. It's his best movie. It
yeah.
really is. And besides, have you seen the meme with comparing Mitch McConnell to the guy with the eyeballs in his hands?
Yeah, no. That is
Anything
the
that's going to
visual.
create a meme like fun.
Yeah. That is the visual from that movie
So yeah,
too. And I mean
yep,
the only
that
other
is
time,
the Guillermo del Toro movie. That's it.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean the visuals, I think you see that kind of visual really shine in the second Hellboy movie too, but it's not
Yeah.
packaged in a movie as incredible as Pan's Labyrinth. I could talk about
Well,
what it is. It's got this dark fantasy element tying in back and forth with real life in Francoist Spain, but I don't want to say too much about this movie. It's
yeah.
such a
Yeah.
gem to discover, and even what I just said makes it sound less interesting, but it's just glorious, powerful.
Yeah, it really is. And what I love about this movie and what I think makes for a sneaky masterpiece is originality.
Oh,
And
that's
this
for
is an
sure.
original story.
Sure is. Sure
It
is.
really is. And it blends fairy tales and a gritty reality story about post-Franco victory in the Spanish Civil War. It's I can't. There's just absolutely, no lie detected. That's his best movie by far, but most people aren't going to call it that.
Mhm.
Okay, I've got a one I really like, and it's French director. Everybody knows. If I say Luc Besson, you're going to tell me one of two movies that's considered his best. What are they?
Oh, so everyone's going to say The Fifth Element,
Yeah, I
which
think more. That's one of them. That's right. I
which
think
I
the one
think
that
is
most.
very overrated, by the way. Just to
Yeah,
make a note of that. But anyways, go ahead.
agreed. Agreed. Uh, I will say this. I think a lot of people are going to say The Professional.
Oh, that's probably true, even though it's sort of kind of creepy with the yeah.
Yeah,
Say,
but
I'll
but
say no
I
more
do
about that.
I do think people think The Professional is going to be his best movie, and I think it's none of those. I think it's La Femme Nikita.
And I knew you were going to say that because I know you like the movie, and I think I like the movie. And I was thinking about, I agree with you 100%, first of all, but I'm surprised that that movie has fallen so much out of memory. It inspired an American version, which was also quite good.
And a Japanese version.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a movie called The Black Cat.
Hmm.
But uh, this is the reason why I think it's his best movie. After La Femme Nikita, which is 1990, a French film. If you haven't seen it, you should. It stars a lady named, oh, there was also a TV show, but it starts a lady named Anne Pariot. And then we were talking about uh, director of Shape of Water.
Hmm.
Um, I think he's the one who did this. There's a vampire movie that she's in, and I think he directed it too. But anyway, La Femme Nikita is an action uh, movie about a petty criminal murderer who is forced to turn into a super spy assassin by the French government. And it's a Luc Besson movie. But here's the big reason why. There's several reasons. One, the soundtrack is just uh, gripping. His favorite composer is a guy named Eric Serra. He's a French composer. It is post-punk, post-cyberpunk, modern with tons of synthesizers. It is you can watch, you can see this movie in your head if you just listen to a recording of the soundtrack. It fits every scene you've got. So I think that's one of the things that makes it his best movie. The second one is there is a very distinct visual style. Um, it again, lighting, art direction, production design. It's a Luc Besson movie when you see this. If you had no idea what this movie is, and even if you watched the dubbed into English version, and you had seen one other Luc Besson movie, you would recognize this as one of them. The third reason why is how big I am into strong female action hero characters.
Hmm.
And of course, who's the originator of that role in science
Well,
fiction?
now that's a loaded question, isn't it? Are we going to
It's
talk
Ripley. Come
about?
on.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. See, I was thinking you were going to say Buffy.
Yeah, but Ripley is 1979.
Yes. Oh, I was going to come back with what about Ripley? So I see. There you go. I didn't give
It,
you enough
it
credit.
it's Ripley. She's the originator of it. But I'm glad you mentioned
I'm going
Buffy
to still
because
disagree with you on that, though. I'm going to disagree with
I didn't
you.
understand you. What did you say?
Oh, I'm still going to disagree with you on that, though, because
Okay. Okay. Well, who would you say it is before Ripley?
I would say Diana Rigg in the Avengers.
Yeah, I just think that's too small an audience. I don't
Maybe it
think it
was.
had that much impact as Ripley does.
Well, it should have had more impact than it did, but I would argue about the audience. That series went on forever, so somebody was watching it.
In Britain, don't
And
think it was on TV in America for very long.
only late night when could stay up and watch it late night when they would also show like Doctor Who and things like that. Late nights were great. I would
Yeah.
always try to stay up late. My parents would.
But it's after this movie in 1990 when you begin to get strong action hero women all in a row. you begin to see more and more of these because of La Femme Nikita, I think. And it's not the originator of that concept, but it's kind of a tipping point, I think. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's a great movie. You ask why it's kind of fallen off. I can tell you why. Besson never released it on video.
Really?
It was never available on video in the United States.
Oh, that's very strange. Why not? Do you know why not? Or is it just one of those mysteries?
It was a French language film, and there wasn't a whole lot of interest in it. I don't know if you remember back in the old days, but you'd have 42 4-foot sections of Hollywood movies, and you
Hmm.
might have one or two 4-foot section of foreign movies in a blockbuster.
No, that's true. And the American version sucked the air out of the room for sure.
Oh, I'm telling you, Bridget Fonda was not the right person for that movie.
I
But
didn't think
as you
she was
said,
too bad.
what?
I didn't think she was too bad,
No,
actually.
I don't think she was too bad either. I think she did as good a job as she could. But um, and the writing, they toned down the writing a bit. And also, I think, ironically, I think one of the reasons why the American version doesn't work as well is I think people uh, believe more in a European law enforcement context that they would force someone to do this, whether they wanted to do it or not. Because, basically
Interesting theory.
they tell her, hey, you murdered a cop. You have two choices. We're going to kill you, or you can become an assassin for us.
Hmm.
And I think that doesn't really work in an American context,
Interesting.
at least not at the time. Now, I might believe it now, but in 1990, that's just not something the American police would easily be able to get away with.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, I do think this is a tipping point for strong action hero female characters. Uh, I think there's another reason why this film drops off a little bit is that it kind of fizzles at the end.
Hmm.
There's kind of no good way, or at least Besson couldn't come up with a good way to resolve the movie. Um,
Maybe that's why I don't remember
and I
the
think
ending.
Yeah, and well, the ending is spoiler alert. This is a 35-year-old movie, but I'll spoil it for you. Give you a spoiler alert warning now. Anyway, in the end of the movie, of course, she's supposed to kill somebody, and she decides she can't do it, and so basically, she runs away, and she does it in a way where they know that her handler, who has a great name for a French movie, Bub. Um, Only in a French movie would a CIA style guy have an American name like Bob. But um, she runs away in a way that makes sure that Bob is not going to come after her because she's this rogue assassin who knows too much. So it could have had a better ending, but I think this is better than The Professional, and it's definitely better than The Fifth Element.
A lot of things are better than the Fifth Element.
Well, the fifth element is kind of a bit of a maudlin ending. Ooh, the
Mhm.
fifth element is love. Okay, all right. Also, I saw that movie. I have a bad experience in that movie. I saw that in a movie which had really terrible sound. And when you've got the Chris Tucker screaming at a
Ah.
falsetto voice the entire movie, and then you have the other guys, the dog-like creatures who mumble anyway. I just couldn't hear about half the dialogue in that movie the first time I saw it.
Well, it certainly doesn't help. Well,
And of course,
I'm going to throw a name
go ahead.
at you.
Yeah.
And this is just an excuse to mention a movie I already mentioned in another episode, which is one of my all-time favorite movies ever. And I was in the underappreciated stuff we had, which is not unlike what next episode is going to be like, but we'll talk about that later. But I'm going to talk about Brad Bird,
Oh
who
yeah.
probably is going to be known most for two movies. I think, you hear The Incredibles all the time. People love The Incredibles.
Yeah.
I think if most people would pick what would be considered his best movie, is the closest you can have to a masterpiece for Brad Bird. And I don't know that any of these you could really call a masterpiece, but I think you'd say Ratatouille, right? Everybody loves Ratatouille. Ratatouille, Ratatouille, Ratatouille. Well, Brad Bird made a movie. what was it, late 90s, like 99, The Iron Giant,
Yep.
which is, I think, a masterpiece by any sane person's standard.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
that
That
movie
that is
is,
a modern classic.
oh my God. And it's beautifully done. It looks great. It looks perfect for for the story they're trying to tell. It's an absolute, oh my God, tearjerker.
Oh God,
Gee,
yes.
oh my God, I cannot watch the end of that movie without literally starting to cry. I do. I'm not
Yep.
an easy crier, but oh my God, that movie makes me cry. It's
Yeah, it doesn't matter how hard you think you are. Uh, you can be a Marine combat veteran with 4 tours in Afghanistan. You are going to cry at the end of that movie.
I know, right? I'm being very good about not giving away storylines, um,
Yeah.
but I kind of want to give this one away. I don't know. Now,
Plus, it's
oh, go ahead.
plus it's an early role on film for two actors.
Uh, Vin Diesel. Is that one of them you were thinking of? The voice of the Iron Giant?
Vin Vin Diesel,
Oh, okay. He is one. All right.
he
Who's the
does
other
the
one?
the voice for the
Yeah.
for the main character.
Hmm.
And who else is in that movie?
Well, a few people are in that movie. Jennifer
Jennifer
Aniston.
Aniston.
She was already established by then, wasn't she? She was a Friends
Not
person?
in film.
Not in
Not
film.
really in
No,
film.
definitely not in film. Agreed. I don't know if she ever quite made it in film, but that was her
Oh,
first movie, probably.
she's famous for a lot of indie movies. She did a lot of really great indie movies. If you haven't seen the movie Management, oh man, go see that
Oh,
movie. It's
no, I have
great.
seen that. Yeah, that's a good movie. I think if it's the one
And
I'm
then
thinking
there's
of.
She's the One.
Have not seen that.
That's the Ed Byrne movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Nope, nope.
Got Cameron Diaz uh, and Jennifer Aniston in it. Oh yeah, you definitely need to see that. That's a great indie film. That is so. She's really well known. She did a movie called The Good Girl
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've seen that
with
one.
Jake
Yeah.
Gyllenhaal.
So a
No,
lot of under
she
the radar stuff she's done. You're right. You're right. I've sort of forgotten about that.
yeah, she has real cred as an indie actress. She really
Hmm.
does. Of
Well,
course, she doesn't need to work, so she doesn't necessarily do a lot of work anymore.
right.
Although she's really great on the morning show on Apple TV.
I've seen some of that too. That's a terrific show. I need to get back to that actually. But the Iron Giant's based on a book by Ted Hughes called The Iron Man, ostensibly based on it. I have not read the book, but I understand it doesn't necessarily have much to do with it. But
No,
so loosely based, inspired by, we shall say. But
of
yeah,
course, you know who Ted Hughes is, right?
he is the husband of who?
Sylvia Plath.
Okay, thank you. It's
All right,
driving me
I
crazy.
digress.
No, it's a worthwhile digression there. But yeah, kid finds giant space alien robot who's causing trouble and is actually there to take over the world. Kid befriends space robot and there you go. There's the basic conceit of the
And
story there, and it's really worth seeing.
yeah, it is his best movie, just hands down. And a lot of people don't even know that's him.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have some of his annoying politics in it either. His little objectivist, I hate using that word, you know, Ayn Rand stuff that you even see in places like The Incredibles. I think The Incredibles is kind of a stealth right wing movie, even though I love it. But it pops up in his other stuff. You don't see any of that in Iron Giant. There's none of that.
Yeah.
It's just pure.
Uh, do you know who he plays? Who he does the voice of?
You mean Brad Bird himself?
Yeah,
Oh no.
he's Edna Mode.
Oh, in the, yeah, right. No, I did know that. I forgot.
That's
In
his
The
voice. He
Incredibles.
plays Edna
Yeah.
Mode in the Incredibles movies.
Hmm.
Hilarious. And you know who he's channeling there? He's channeling Edith Head, who was a fashion designer in the 60s for a lot of the major studio films.
Well, that's cool. It's Incredibles is a great movie. I don't want to trash it, but
Yeah.
anyways, we'll probably get into more of that because we're going to be talking about right wing sci-fi at some point. So hold that thought.
I will. All right, I've got one for you, and this one will
Okay.
be controversial. When I say M. Night Shyamalan, what movie do you think people will say is his best movie?
Oh, The Sixth Sense.
That's right. Wrong. It's Unbreakable.
This one I'm going to disagree with you on, but I want to hear you out.
Well, it has to do with the fact of what the purpose of that movie is.
Hmm.
The only reason why I went to see that movie is I read about it, and he said, what we want to do here is we want to show a movie, a superhero origin story that would be so believable you would think it could happen in real life.
Right.
And he succeeds completely in that movie.
No, I agree. I do agree. I don't know that it's as good as Sixth Sense, but I agree.
For a guy, well, here's the reason why I think it's better than The Sixth Sense, because the twist in that movie does not come at the end. The twist is in the middle of that movie. So not
Oh, I
only,
don't think so,
it,
but go ahead. I'm going to
well,
argue
of
with you
course
on
it
that.
is. But my brother and I were going to walk out of that movie. It was so slow and so rainy and so David Fincher seven dark, visually dark. We were ready to go until when?
You're probably going to talk about everybody's favorite scene. At least I think it is. Maybe it's not. It's my favorite scene, second favorite scene, where he keeps putting more and more weight onto
Weightlifting scene.
the weightlifting scene. Yeah, it's a great scene. Yes.
Because you have no idea that this guy's a superhero. You
Hmm.
have no clue. He survived a train wreck. Lots of people survive train wrecks and big kinds of disasters out of sheer coincidence. But then you realize there's something else going on here, and it is complete and utter surprise in the beginning. Yes, I mean in the middle of the movie. Yes, I know, I understand. The other surprise involves Samuel L. Jackson and how he engineers the movie. But until you have him set up, you can't do the next part.
Yeah, I got to say though, that was just part of the story to me. The twist that was supposed to be the twist at the end totally got me. Totally got me. In fact, I
Yeah, see,
compare that movie to, there's a lot of movies I see where I'm like, the movie's good, but they didn't know how to end it. Um, this is the opposite. I felt like the movie was kind of meandery, kind of slow, kind of boring, and then the ending nailed it. And you're just like, well, I just woke up. Like, whoa, that's what was happening. Holy crap, I did not see that coming. And I see most things coming. So, anyways.
well, and that's one of the things I want to say about The Sixth Sense. Uh, that scene at the very beginning of the movie, I went, "Oh yeah, that's what's happened."
I saw it pretty early too. Not that early, but yeah.
No, as soon as that thing happened, I was like, "All right, I know this movie. I know how it ends," but it was still great.
Yeah, it was so
So
good.
that's what I liked about The Sixth Sense is that even though I saw the snap ending at the very beginning of the movie, I still thought the story was compelling. But I just think if you measure it by what his intent was for the movie, what his stated purpose for the movie was, I don't think he has succeeded in a better way since.
Mm.
I will say, no, actually, I'm going to say that for the hidden gems one. I'm glad I just thought of that. There's a M. Night Shyamalan movie that I want to save as a hidden gem. It's not something that's very well known, but I see a lot of horror movies, and this is a really good one that a lot of people have slept on.
All
Um,
right.
and
Well,
it's from,
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to dive into one there. Sorry, I didn't know you weren't done. My bad.
No, I'm done. I'm done. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
I'm
done.
going to give you a controversial one because this one's going to be weird. Okay. Because there's two Steven Spielbergs, right? There's Steven Spielberg, probably the biggest genre, uh, movie maker ever. And then there's the broader Steven Spielberg, the movie maker. I think most everyone would probably agree, except for those fans of Saving Private Ryan, that Schindler's List is probably his best movie. I don't know how you
Yeah.
feel about that. Yeah. But I'm going to step back and put those very few movies he's made, very, very few, those two, Empire of the Sun, is that about it? I don't know. Put those aside and just look at him as a genre director. And
Hmm.
I think if you look at that body of work, 99% of people would say his masterpiece was, and I'm going to see if you come up with it. If you had to pick the one that everybody would say, if you ask them what's his big movie,
Oh, they're going to say E.T.
they're going to say E.T. every single time.
Yeah,
Well, speaking of movies that are perfect, movies that if you change one scene, you're going to lose something. And that's going way back to good old Jaws. I think
yeah.
Jaws is his genre masterpiece. Absolutely.
Well, I think it's arguable that it's better than than Schindler's List, even.
Oh no, that's an
If you
interesting
talk
trade-off to
about
make.
if you talk about what it's designed to do,
Mm-hmm.
if you talk about his purpose in making the movie,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get any better than Jaws. It's a straight up horror movie
Yeah.
involving sharks.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that because now that you got me thinking about it, Schindler's List had a little padding in it, you know?
Yeah,
There's some stuff you could take out that wouldn't take away from the experience of the movie. But and I'm using your definition of perfect movie here. I don't think
sure.
there's an edited version of Jaws you always see on TV, and it's pretty good. But you miss those scenes it takes out. It really detracts from the overall experience. So, there's maybe something to what you're saying there. Maybe you've got me to come along with you on that. Boy, that's sacrilegious, though,
Well, look, I understand that, and I think you put. I really do think that you should set aside um, Steven Spielberg's World War II movies as a completely different deal.
huh? Hmm.
That's
Sure.
a different Spielberg than the blockbuster Spielberg.
Are you including 1941? Or was that George Lucas? No, no, that was
No,
Spielberg.
that's Steven Spielberg, and
Yeah.
that's Steven Spielberg's Howard the Duck. Remember, I've talked about the Howard the Duck rule.
Yeah, I like your
Every
Howard.
director has a
Cool.
Howard the Duck. And I really think that's his. And I had such hopes for that. John Belushi in that role, of course, you're expecting it to be great. It is mid. That movie is mid. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you're smart. I think it's really smart to separate out the dramatic World War II era movies as a separate genre for Spielberg as a director. I mean,
Mhm.
clearly he has a really emotional connection to those movies. Those are passion projects. But
Yeah.
let's face it, that's not what people know Steven Spielberg for. People
Yeah.
know Steven Spielberg for the tent pole summer blockbuster movie.
Hmm. Absolutely. The one who you could arguably say invented it, in fact.
Yeah, really. I mean,
Mhm.
you have some action movies before that, before Jaws, but before Jaws, I mean, after Jaws, I'm sorry, before Star Wars, the movie that had everybody waiting in line and the movie that lasted a year in theaters nonstop, a year-long run. Before that, what movie did it? Jaws.
Jaws, yeah. Notwithstanding Rocky Horror Picture Show. That's a little different.
Well, that's a whole different story altogether. I remember at Texas Christian University here in Fort Worth, they had a little theater right on the corner of the campus. And I remember in, what was it, 73 or 74, when that movie ran as a first run movie.
No, no
It
kidding.
spent one weekend in the theaters here.
Wow, you are older than me, that's for sure. Well, not much older than me, but just enough. Just
Oh, I
enough
was
that I'll
like nine. I
notice.
was like 9 or 10. I don't remember when it came out. But I remember it because you see the movie poster and it's just a great big red lips on a red background, and it just says Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Hmm.
And you know what? I'm surprised nobody's tried to remake that movie. It was 1975, so I was 12.
Well, it's definitely, and I think we may have mentioned it on our movies that should not be remade.
Oh yeah, I don't
You
think so
don't
either.
touch that. Yeah, don't touch that one. That would be a
But I'm not
disaster.
surprised that people haven't tried.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe it's been talked about in the shadows, in the Hollywood shadows somewhere. Well, why don't you give us one more then, and then we'll call it a day and encourage folks to come
Uh,
and listen to our
Making it
part
so
two.
hard because I've got two good ones.
Oh, well, throw them both at me.
I'll do them quickly. We'll start with David Cronenberg, and I think everybody would say his best movie is The Fly.
I think probably so, but there's a lot of possibilities. I'm really curious which one you're going to say.
It's Videodrome.
Videodrome. Okay. I would definitely I would definitely put that on the list. It's hard to pick a best movie with him, but Videodrome was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Well, and here's the reason why. One, it's really the beginning of his distinct body horror
Hmm.
kind of aesthetic. That's the one that, you've got the videotape player shoved into James Woods's guts. You've got the S&M stuff where you have Deborah Harry having her ear pierced um, in bed. You've got, but so you've got all these things that make a Cronenberg movie, but it's his prediction for the power of visual media that really makes this his masterpiece. And what sells it as a masterpiece for me is specifically he's talking about videotape, VHS, and
Hmm.
TV as the institution which is going to pervert everything and move everything away from democratic government and everything toward violence. But he didn't see it coming. It can be easily applied, that VHS TV kind of culture, directly to the internet.
Hmm.
And the
Sure.
internet has made this visual kind of visceral learning over reading, short uh, 15-second TikToks over reading, that has dumbed down society globally and pushed
Hmm.
it more toward extreme politics, pushed it more toward culture. I mean, uh, corporate culture, pushed it more toward violence. And he was so spot on in 1983 when he made this movie. It was so weird. Not very many people saw it in the theater. I didn't see it
Hmm.
in the theater. I saw it on cable where it ran 9 million times. Uh, and it's just the visual style is clear. Like I said, if you didn't know this was a David Cronenberg movie and you turned it on, I watched it for 10 minutes, you'd say, oh, that's a David Cronenberg movie.
Yeah. You know,
And
that's
that's
go ahead.
and that's one of that's I think one of the hallmarks of a masterpiece is you don't have to know who did it when you start watching it. Within just a few minutes, you'll be able to identify the director. And it's just such a great little movie. It's very strange and it really veers off into some psychedelic stuff at the very end.
Hmm.
But he was so right about the effect of visual culture on the rest of society that I don't think anybody's done it better.
I'm going to say something sacrilegious about not just masterpiece, something you would call a masterpiece in general, but particularly about such a director with such a defined, unique style, and that's that I would like to see a well-made remake of that.
I would too.
Yeah, and
I
I
would
mean
too.
Cronenberg could do it himself, and that would be great. But I think also a director with another sort of twisted eye who could take it on. I'd just be interested to see a modern version with a real artistic eye to it.
Maybe we should write a script.
There you go. So what was your other one? You had one more.
Very quickly, and unfortunately, it's going to have to be too quick. Is when I say Terry Gilliam, what do you think of as his masterpiece?
That's funny because I had one I was thinking of for him too, and I don't remember what it was. His masterpiece. What would his masterpiece be?
Brazil.
Brazil. Yes.
Obviously, Brazil. I don't think it's his best movie at all.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think
I thought it
I
was a
think
little
it's
overblown.
I think it's the Fisher King.
I was wondering if you were gonna say the Fisher King. We were on the same wavelength there. I'm like, it's either the
Such
Fisher
a
King,
tight movie.
it's either the Fisher King or the Adventures of Baron von Munchausen, I'm sure. Baron Munchausen, excuse me.
It's the Fisher King. And the reason why I think it's the Fisher King is you know how much I have been schooled in mythology. The Fisher King is a very old, one of the oldest Arthurian legends. And it is, when you match that kind of mythology with Terry Gilliam's eclectic, iconic, really skewed eye for everything, and you've got a guy who arguably could be an Arthurian legend if he had, lived in the 800s. Robin Williams is the main character.
That movie does not work without Robin Williams.
No, no,
That's
there's nobody that could.
yeah.
No, yeah, and of course, the myth of the Fisher King is the king is one of the guardians of the Grail, but he's wounded by a magic weapon, so he's crippled
Mhm.
and can't fulfill his duty. And in the Arthurian legend, this king is in court one day and he finds that he's terribly thirsty. And the court jester hands him some water in a magic goblet, which is actually the Grail. So he's lost the Grail. He has no idea where it is. And the jester just hands him a drink of water in this cup and it heals him. And he figures out, oh, the Grail's been here all along,
Mhm.
and the jester's been the one keeping track of it. And so the king says, why didn't you tell me you had the Grail? He said, it was just the cup.
That
And
movie
so,
was so good. If there is one potential flaw in it, um, it's that Robin Williams was too good. He could maybe distract a little too much from the other characters, and you're waiting for the next Robin Williams scene. And that's an amazing thing to do when you're talking about a movie with Jeff Bridges, who is
yeah.
one of our best actors.
Oh, and how about Mercedes Rule? She's the only one who won an Oscar for that movie.
She did.
Yeah, she won
Yeah,
Best Supporting Actress for
no
that movie.
kidding. Oh, I'm glad it made some noise in the
Well, the
award
the
world then.
the writing in that movie is just spectacular.
Hmm.
And Jeff Bridges, Mercedes Rule, Robin Williams. You can't ask for a stronger cast in a movie.
Yeah, they were great. It was so well cast. Absolutely.
And uh, that's his masterpiece by far. And I think somewhere down the future, other people are going to realize that Brazil's great. It's this original dystopian thing which has Robert De Niro as a heroic maintenance guy, but it's not the Fisher King. The
Right.
Fisher King is so great, and it has really fallen off. People don't know this movie.
I know. I'm always telling people about it. I mean, the other one people would say would be his masterpiece would be 13 Monkeys, I think.
12 Monkeys.
There's some amount of monkeys, a bunch of monkeys movies.
It's 12
Anyways,
Monkeys because it's based on a French movie.
maybe 13 is a sequel.
12
Look at
Monkeys.
that.
It's based on a French movie, which is interesting because the French movie is just still pictures. It's
Mm,
called La Jetée.
huh. I've never heard of that. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
12
it's a French
monkeys.
movie, and 12 Monkeys is based on that, which is why I don't think it's his masterpiece. Okay, sure, it's
Mm.
an old French movie, but it doesn't have the weight that a several hundred-year-old Arthurian legend does.
Well, you
Anyway,
got me
that's
on
a great
that one.
movie.
You got me on that one.
And
I'm right there with you. We agreed on much more than we disagreed on, I think, which is usually the case. Kind of disagree sometimes, or it's boring. My God. But all right. So hope we haven't offended anybody out there too much dissing your favorite movie. But
oh, I kind of hope we have.
yeah, well, if we have, it's good for you. It's good for you. It's good for the soul to be
It's good
able.
for us too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to bail on you now. And we're going to come back
Yep.
next time around in 2 weeks with something very, very similar. We're going to talk about not so much alternate masterpieces from known directors, but hidden gems, movies that you may have never heard of. Yeah, yeah. Anyways, we'll get to that. You'll hear us next time. You'll know what we're talking about. So until then, everybody have a grand old time.
Yeah,
And
and look for those sneaky masterpieces. Look for the things that people say, oh no, this other movie's really great, but this is better. Look for those because you'll find them.
Yeah. All right, folks. Next time. See ya. Our theme music is by Christopher Piatek.